Hello and welcome to the story that is my cancer journey. I've just been feeling really prompted and a sense of needing to share what life has been like for me during my 3 cancer journeys. And I really want this to be a time of encouragement because cancer is the most incredible journey when we embrace it and we work with our bodies and we utilize that as an opportunity to get to know our bodies more, to understand our bodies, and to learn how to listen and hear our bodies, and then work with what our body is saying to start to bring our body back into a place of healing. That wasn't how it was for me on my first journey. So I don't know how it is for other people, but my first journey was a breast cancer journey. And I was having a very normal life until one day I found a lump. And then the roller coaster began. Because you go for the examination and the biopsy, and then the diagnosis comes, and it feels like you've been hit by a train because you were living this normal life and suddenly every bit of normality is snatched away from you and you're presented with information and required to make decisions and choices in a time-critical space. And certainly for me, I felt completely ill-equipped. I wasn't expecting it because we always expect it's going to happen to somebody else and it's not going to happen to us. So in the absence of any other choice I felt I had, I decided to go what was recommended. And what was recommended was surgery, chemotherapy, and radiotherapy. So I don't want to dwell too much on what that was all about because it's very difficult to speak life or to speak in a life-giving way around a regime whose sole purpose is to take you to the edge of death, to literally kill so much of what's in your body in the hope that they'll kill the cancer as well. So what I can talk about is having come out of the chemo phase, which was less than desirable. During my radiotherapy phase, I ended up with double pneumonia and in hospital. And I knew that I was dying. And it's double pneumonia is like drowning on the inside because basically your lungs are just filling up with water. And I was actually saying to the Lord, like, what am I supposed to do here? How am I supposed to navigate this? And one evening, an angel showed up and he sat on my bed and he told me that an assignment had been released against my life. But he also shared with me the incredible opportunities and adventure that the Father still had for me should I choose not to partner with death. So, obviously, that was my choice. And a time came when I knew that it was getting time critical and the doctor was sitting on the bed where the angel had sat. And she said, well, we have to do this procedure where we puncture into your lungs from your back and suck out the excess fluid. But the surgeon who does those procedures in this hospital is not here today. He'll be back tomorrow. And out of my mouth, without any cognitive recognition, I said, I won't be here tomorrow. And I knew that was what the angel was talking about. And so I followed the angel's lead. The angel had told me to go into the spirit realm, and he'd given me some strategies, and actually that's what I did, and I then just left it with him. Miraculously, it transpired that they were able to do that procedure that day, and I did go into a place where I came close to death, but I came out the other side. And came out the other side, continued to get well and stronger and get better. And when they gave me the all clear, this is the joy of sitting outside in the summertime. You get all these creepy crawlies on you. When they gave me the all clear, I remember thinking, I'm going to be informed next time. I'm not going to be caught unawares. We all hope there's not going to be a next time, but we never know. So I then started a journey of information gathering, because everything inside of me said that God's solution to life, abundance, and fullness cannot be about something that takes you to a place of near death. That was how my brain was thinking. My brain was thinking, how can something that is so about death bring life? And so I just couldn't reconcile that chemo is the solution. But in Western culture, that is what we're told. We're told, and we leave it to the experts. However, I realized that the experts have very little arsenal, because even in my journey, I was realizing there's no certainties, there's no absolutes. Every bit of information they're giving you is statistics. And so I decided that I was going to start a journey with the Father to find different options. And so I started to explore different things. And the first piece of technology that I found out about was the Rife machine. So the Rife machine, spelled R-I-F-E, is a machine that was developed in the 50s by a man called Raymond Royal Rife. And he was set to win the Nobel Peace Prize for using frequency to kill cancer. So he was sent from Pasadena Hospital. He was sent 16 terminally ill cancer patients, and there were a team that were gathered around him of pathologists and the like, because they didn't expect that there was going to be a recovery of any of these people, but they were still prepared to then do autopsies to see what kind of difference it had made. However, using his technology, he was able to cure every single one of those 16 patients. For all sorts of reasons, Rife technology went underground and is now scoffed at as an alternative. However, I knew, when you find a truth and you hear something and you're like, I don't understand it, I don't know how this could be, but I knew. And I started to look at how does the body function, what causes cancer? Is cancer a disease? Is cancer just your body trying to tell you you need to change your lifestyle? What exactly is it all about? During this time, I got on with my life and carried on and had my regular checks. And I had gone for my 5-year check, which was the check where they then say, right, you're done. We can discharge you from the system. And at that point in time, they found another lump in the other breast. So I prayed about it. And I felt the Father say, you will not have to have chemotherapy. So in my interpretation of what he had said, I assumed it would not be cancerous. It was cancerous. However, this time I was far more equipped with knowing what to do about this. I was more equipped, but my family were not happy at the prospect of me declining chemotherapy. So I knew that I needed people on my side if this was going to work for me. So I said, okay, I'm prepared to undergo chemotherapy until the first hurdle. And then I would like agreement that I can be out. And of course that first hurdle was my very first chemo. And I ended up with a thrombosed jugular, and that brought with it its own issues. However, I knew that that was my get out of chemo jail free card. So I then started the journey where I made Jesus my naturopath, and I made Father my senior physician. And so every day I would sit with them on the sofa and we'd talk. And I'd say, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I know that you are wanting to teach me something through this. You've told me that I don't need to have chemo, therefore you have another solution, and I'm going to trust you for that solution. And the first thing I knew I needed was a rife machine. Well, I had absolutely no idea where to go to look for a rife machine. And I just felt this prompt. Have a look and see if there are any Facebook groups around rife machines. So I did, and I joined the groups. The very next day, there was a post from somebody in America saying, I'd love to hear your success stories. I'm a veteran, and I'm a cancer survivor, and I used rife technology to reverse stage 4 prostate cancer. And what I do is I raise funds for other vets who have cancer diagnoses, and your stories will help me in getting funding to buy these machines. And he had his email address there. So I just felt to email him and say, I don't have a story, but I'm a story in the making. Could you tell me more about this machine? And and I shared a little bit about what my journey had been. So obviously with the time, so he was 8 hours, there was an 8-hour time difference, and so the next day he came back to me and he gave me all of this information. I went back to him and I said, look, I'd love to buy a machine. I live in the UK. This machine you're talking about is manufactured in America. It's not even manufactured in one place. They have to, because the FDA have come after them so many times, it's now split out, and it's keeping them safe. So it's quite a complicated procedure to order one of these machines. So he said to me, let me just see what I can do. He came back to me and he said, there's a lady in Glasgow who wants to sell her machine. And so literally within a week of me saying to the Father, I don't know where to go to get a rife machine, within a week I had that rife machine in my house. And I knew that, okay, the Father's got this. So the next thing that happened was he told me that I needed to subscribe to I'd seen a course being advertised, not a course, it was a documentary that was being run or being put on by the Truth About Cancer. I'd never heard of them as an organization. Anyway, I subscribed, and they ran this journey through Asia. So Eastern Medicine Journey Through Asia, 7 days, 7 countries. So I subscribed to this, and each day I would say to the Father, am I supposed to watch it? And I didn't get a prompt. On I think it was on day 4, the Father said, I want you to watch this. So I watched it, and it was about the Philippines, and they were in the Philippines, and they were talking about all the different alternative solutions that they have to cancer in the Philippines. And one lady was sharing her story about breast cancer, and the Father said, I want you to listen to this. So she was sharing, and she said that she had found, her naturopath had put her onto these supplements. One was called Pie Cure, and the other was called Moringa Cure. And so I wrote all of this down, and I knew afterwards that I needed to research these supplements. So I researched the supplements, found out who made them, and got hold of the company, and got my first order. I was allocated a naturopath in the company who basically said, yes, we treat people with cancer all over the world. If you tell me your results and you tell me what's going on, I'll be able to tell you the dosage and diet and, that whole side of things. And so that started my journey with the supplements, and I shall show you what they look like. So this is Pie Cure, and its active ingredient is curcumin, which comes from turmeric. And this one here is Moringa Cure, and this is moringa and curcumin. But they have formulated a way that makes them highly absorbable. So having done tests, the absorption capacity of one of these pills is equivalent to 200 turmeric capsules. So you can understand the potency of these pills. And curcumin is a tumor strangler. So I started taking these, and the Father just walked with me through understanding energy in my body, understanding how important how crucial my thinking was, and how it was connected to my physical body. And so that journey was because I basically declined all sorts of chemical intervention. The medical route kind of closed down to me. So it was me and Jesus and Father and Holy Spirit. And so we just worked together day upon day upon day to begin to bring healing into my body. One day, it was about 10 months later, one day I was going out for lunch with a friend of mine, and I really fancied a glass of wine. So I said to the Father, can I have a glass of wine with my meal? And he said, yes, we're celebrating. It's like, ooh, what are we celebrating? Silence. It's like, okay, I don't mind. I'm a bit of a party girl. I can party even when I don't know why I'm partying. 3 days later, I woke up. He said, we're celebrating that the journey is over. So I then had to go private to have a mammogram to confirm that. I wanted to be able to confirm that because my husband was quite nervous of this journey, and I knew that it would mean a huge amount to him if I could come and say, I'm cancer free. So the mammogram came back clear, and I was able to say to him, darling, the battle is over. So, some of the things that I learned in my second cancer journey were things like the importance of gut health. At one point, I had already, just after the diagnosis, before I started treatment, I already had a trip to the States booked. I was going to work with an organization out there. And the CEO's wife happened to be a naturopath. What a coincidence. And she was incredible in speaking to me about the importance of gut health, how to get your gut healthy, and understand what's going on in your gut. And so I started coffee enemas, and I started with colonic hydrotherapy in order to get some order back into my gut. The other thing that I learned was basically in every kind of healing, what you're trying to do is get your immune system into tip-top condition so that it can do the work of bringing healing, because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Our bodies are created to self-heal. Our bodies are created with a balance, an energetic balance within it, and chemicals cause an imbalance. Chemicals cause a dis-ease. And so I started to look at all sorts of chemicals in household cleaners, chemicals in feminine hygiene products, or any kind of hygiene products, washing powders and chemicals. I just started to look at the chemicals in the products that we were using, the chemicals in the food, and researching around all of that, and realizing that in everyday life I was taking my body into toxic overload with chemicals. And so I started to cleanse, as in eradicate chemicals as far as was possible, and to go into looking at natural products. So in that journey, I discovered another product. This is ASEA. So what ASEA does is, ASEA is signaling molecules. And I'm not medical, so I'm not going to give you a medical explanation. But I did listen to a doctor talking about it, and he really described it in layman's terms, which made it so clear for me to understand. So signaling molecules are what our body naturally produces, and they are the cells. They're the cells that signal an issue within the body. And then the immune system, the immune cells, come to that location and do an analysis of the problem. And if the immune cells realize that those cells can be repaired, they issue the repair instruction. If they can't, they issue the self-destruct instruction, and then they issue instruction to the cells alongside to replicate. So there's this synergy that works with signaling molecules and the immune system. And with disease, our signaling, with disease and age, our body stops producing enough signaling molecules. And so all we're doing when you take a seer is you're supplementing what is a natural resource within the body. So in the process that is natural healing, what I discovered is that there are three avenues, if you like. So the first avenue is to find a way to kill the offending cells. So what is so amazing about RIFE technology is that because it's frequency specific, you need to find the frequency that is required to cause that cell to burst. So it's like the opera singer and the glass. When the opera singer reaches a particular pitch, the glass will explode. Cells are like that. So various cells will explode at various frequencies. So you need to find that frequency, but these machines come with those frequencies programmed in. But the thing that's amazing is that it only kills the diseased cells. It doesn't impact any healthy cells. So the three-pronged approach, if you like, to health is to kill the disease, to detox the body, and to revitalize the cells. And so I started to look at the technologies out there that did those three things. Primarily because I became insatiable with the need to know this information. It was just what I thought and breathed and lived for every single day. And I know that that's what the Father put inside of me, because I know that my call is to open up avenues for people of healing that is an alternative way. So as part of my journey, between my second cancer journey and what is currently my third cancer journey, we opened a wellness hub in Totnes. And it has been the most incredible privilege to be part of that. I certainly know what it feels like to sit and be told there is no hope. In August last year, I got a terminal diagnosis. So what had happened was the original cancer that was treated with chemotherapy had metastasized. It had come back, and it was really fortunate in that the two cancers that I had in the breasts were completely different cancers. And so when they did the tests, they could tell which cancer had metastasized. And it was actually the cancer that had been treated with the chemotherapy had metastasized into my bones. And I knew something was wrong because I kept fracturing ribs and wasn't quite sure what was going on. But anyway, ended up in hospital. They did blood tests and found out that I had that the cancer was rampant. Basically, I'd broken a hip, and that was because the cancer in the bones had caused the bones to soften to that extent. So, yes, okay, I'll continue with that part of the journey because I kind of jumped into there explaining the Wellness Hub. So that was August last year. I was told that I wouldn't leave hospital, was the first statement that was made. And what the doctors didn't know was that only 6 weeks prior to that, we had exchanged contracts on my dream house. And it was a completely God thing. So my husband woke up one morning and said, let's move, which was, he'd been adamant he didn't want to move. I had said to the father, I haven't got the energy to make this house that we were living in market ready. I really want somebody just to knock on my door and say, I want to buy your house. It didn't quite end up like that, but my son was scrolling through Facebook on some group. Somebody had posted that they wanted to move to the village that we lived in and were literally describing our house, what they wanted. So I made contact with them. They came around and viewed it. It was sold. So that was the sale of our house. I'd seen a house that I liked, which was £1 million over budget. And yet I felt the father say, that's your house. I'm like, okay, that's my house. I'm not quite sure how this is going to happen, but that's my house. My husband had shares in a company that we were going to sell to be able to make the move. And the share price tripled, just went up, 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 up. And so we bought my dream house. So I'm sitting in the hospital. I've just watched the miraculous moves of heaven on a daily basis. And I mean, there's so much to that story that I haven't told you. Every part of it was miraculous. Even the price that we paid for it was miraculous. Because the father had said, that's your house and that's what you're going to pay for it. So I didn't budge on that. So now the doctors are telling me that, you're going to die. And I'm like, this is not possible. Now, I want to just tell you that at this point in time, the Lord had not said to me, you are not going to die. Okay? However, I know my dad. I know that my dad is not about to buy me my dream house and then say, well, I'm sorry, you're not going to live in it. That is not who my dad is. He did not have to tell me I'm not going to die. I absolutely knew that was not the end of the story. I did not know how it was going to happen, but I knew that was not the end of the story. So the first thing I said to the father was, what am I supposed to do? He said, I want you to start to take 4 times the normal dose of ASEA. So I had some at home. I contacted my daughter. I asked her to send it into the hospital. I had to get it cleared. It's really quite helpful that the only thing it says on this is that it's a food supplement. They were like, yeah, that's fine. So I started taking my ASEA. And I started to get better and better and better. It took quite a while for them to decide to do the hip operation. And I think they had to toy with, is this woman, first of all, is she going to live long enough for it to be worth anybody's while doing this operation? And secondly, are her bones going to withstand it? Anyway, the long and the short of it is that having been told I wouldn't leave hospital, I was then told that I would leave hospital, but that I would go to hospice. I was then sent home with a hospital bed and a very high level of care package, which I was quite quickly able to dispense with. And the carers would come in and they'd say, but we've read your notes and this is who you like. This doesn't make sense. And actually I just followed the father's lead. He told me to start using the Beamer every day, which is a pulsed electromagnetic frequency machine, and so that deals with circulation. So I know that part of what the ASEA will do is it will create cancer cells to self-combust, self-destroy. And so my body needed to be able to detox that. So he was very specific not to rife in the beginning. And looking back now, I can understand that actually my body couldn't have handled it. The thing about using the ASEA is the ASEA works with the immune system. So the immune system isn't going to overload itself. However, when you're choosing the level of frequency that you're pumping into your body, you don't know what your body can deal with, whereas the immune system does know what the body can deal with. And so looking back, I can see such clear detail in the strategy that the Father has had me walking in. And my cancer markers was really interesting, because when I got home, I still didn't know, okay, so I'm home now, I know I'm not going to die, I'm not quite sure what this journey is going to look like, and I'm not sure how I'm going to track the progress that I'm making. It's always great to know that, okay, so he's told me I need to up this supplement or this, but is it working? It's just good to know those things. Not because it's going to change how I do things, but actually it's a real reassurance for my husband. So I asked the doctor, so how are we going to track the progress that I'm making? Because of course I was saying I don't want chemo, and I don't want this, and I don't want that, and in the medical establishment's mind, you're not going to make progress. However, there is a blood test that they can do, which they have agreed to do. So once a month, they take my bloods and they check my cancer markers. So when I came out of hospital, my cancer markers were just under 600, and normal is 30. And each month, my markers came down and came down and came down until I contracted COVID. And that caused my markers to spike again. But they have still been going up, but much more slowly. And I feel really sure that I've turned it around now, and we're on the way down again. But what comes back in the blood results is irrelevant to me. I had somebody contact me the other day and say, please let me know when your bloods are clear so that I can celebrate with you. I said, please don't wait to celebrate. I've been celebrating since August because I'm just waiting for the manifestation of what I know is going to happen. It's just my body's got to catch up with the reality of who my dad is and what he's choosing to walk me through. I am not fazed at this journey at all, because about 3 years ago, the Father started to talk to me about immortality. Immortality in this body, not, one day I'm going to have a heavenly body. He explained it to me so simply. He said, God created Adam and Eve immortal. Do you agree with that? Yes, I said, I agree with that. Sin came into the world and brought death. Do you agree with that? Yes, I said, I agree with that. Jesus came to reset the record as though sin had never happened. Do you agree with that? Yes, I agree with that. So why don't you agree with immortality? It was such a wake-up call. I suddenly realized that darkness that covers the earth that is talked about in Isaiah is the covenant of death. That actually we've covenanted with death, that we will die. And it's such a good strategy that the enemy has employed to keep mankind from never establishing on earth as it is in heaven. Because that's our mandate. Our mandate, Jesus taught us to pray that on earth as it is in heaven. Did he teach us to pray that because it's a pipe dream? No, because that's our mandate as sons. Our mandate is to be able to reach up into the spirit realm, into the supernatural realm, into the real realm, and pull it down and manifest it. See, it's not real here when it's manifested. It's real from the moment the Father spoke it. It's real. It just manifests here when we come into agreement with that and we walk out what he's asking us to do to see the manifestation of it. So I knew that in order for me to be able to enjoy immortality, I was going to have to walk through death, because once you've faced it and you've realized it has no hold, death has no hold on me. My body is created to self-regulate, to self-repair, to self-heal. I just need to learn to walk with it and understand it. He's taught me muscle testing. He's taught me how to hear my body. He's taught me how to work with the energy within my body, because he is energy. When he brooded over the earth, he released his energy into the earth. When we talk about peace, his peace is an energy. His love is an energy that recalibrates our cells, that resets our body and heals and restores us. So now I have the privilege of walking alongside of people who have been told there is no hope. There is nothing we can do for you. You're going to die. And I am so blessed to be able to say, there is another way. He has orchestrated our lives in every detail, and we get to choose. And I want to tell you that these journeys that we walk through, they're actually blessings, because at the beginning of last year, at the beginning of every year, the Father says to me, okay, so this year, this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to teach you. And at the beginning of last year, he said, I'm going to teach you to live in the absence of fear. You know, I was excited about that. I hadn't really thought about the fact that he was going to have me face every fear. But do you know what it's like to live in the absence of fear? Where there's nothing that you're afraid of, where there's nothing that can touch you, because you know your dad, you know how much he loves you, you know that he's got it, you know that he has a plan, you know that if you hold his hand, he's going to tell you what to do step by step. He's not, he doesn't run his plans past you for approval, and he doesn't tell you his plans so that he can put your mind at ease. Because that's what living by faith is all about. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will make your path straight. It really is that simple. It's not easy, but it's that simple. But when you can live in the absence of fear, you want to live forever. You want to be immortal, because life is fun, life is exciting, life is full of adventure, life holds nothing to fear, only things to celebrate, only fun to be had, only kingdom to see advanced. So I want to encourage you, wherever you are, if you're watching this, it's because the Father's got a purpose in you seeing this. If you're watching this, he wants to tell you he's got a plan. It's all okay. There is nothing that shocks him. He doesn't suddenly wake up from a slumber and think, oh my goodness, I took the eye off the ball. No, that isn't how it is. What he's saying to you is, snuggle in deeper. Hold on tight. I'm going to teach you to fly. I'm going to teach you to face the impossible. I'm going to teach you to walk on water. I'm going to teach you to do all the things that are your heart's desire, but you never dare dream because of fear of disappointment or fear of something. Let go of fear. Hold on to him. Believe that he loves you. His love is unconditional. Now, you may have a different theology, but any theology that says that you have to jump through these hoops in order for you to be loved by him is a nonsense, because that makes a mockery of unconditional love. Unconditional in nature means there are no conditions. He's just going to love you. He's going to love you whether you know him. He's going to love you whether you don't. He's going to love you whether you do things you shouldn't. He's going to love you. And there's nothing that can stop him from loving you. What can stop you from feeling his love is believing that you've done something that means he's not going to love you as much. Let it go. It's a lie. Hold his hand. Get excited for the future. And start every day with a new attitude of, Father, it's you and me today. It's going to be an adventure. What are we going to do? Father, teach me your ways. Father, teach me to hear your voice. Father, teach me anything you want to teach me. Show me how my body works. Show me what thoughts bring negativity into my life. Show me what actions are hindering the flow of freedom and the absence of fear in my life. I want to live the abundance that Jesus made possible for me. Living from that place will completely transform who you are and how you live, and will make the thought of immortality exciting. It will make the idea something you want to embrace, rather than thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want to live forever. Imagine living forever. Embrace immortality as a way of functioning and a new way of being.